Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Mr. B. Today we're going to discuss the latest developments in the Iran war and follow along and see what is actually happening. I use First Post, news publication based out of India, who pretty much gets it down the middle. And so let's go ahead and jump in and see what the latest developments are.
I've put it off for a little while, hopefully, maybe forever.
The United States was ready to strike Iran again. That is what President Donald Trump now claims. The targets were prepared, the military was ready, and the attack was planned for today. But then something changed. Trump put his plan to strike Iran on hold, not because the tensions eased, but because Washington's own Gulf allies stepped in. I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. All apparently told Washington the same thing: wait, just for a few more days. And why is that so? Because they believe a deal with Iran may still be possible.
Well, other countries have come to me and they've said we were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I put it off for a little while, hopefully, maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also. We've informed Israel. We've informed other people in the Middle East that have been involved with us.
That is a remarkable admission. Washington is saying it was ready to escalate this war again. But it is also saying diplomacy may still have a chance.
We're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. So I was called by these 3 countries plus others, and they're dealing directly with our people and right now Iran. And there seems to be a very good chance that they can work something out. If we can do that without bombing the hell out of them, I'd be very happy.
And how did Tehran respond to this? By trolling Trump. Iran called this a checkmate. It even claimed that the armed forces were fully prepared to retaliate against any US attack. And that pretty much captures the mood right now. The ceasefire is still holding, but nobody really trusts it. Washington is talking about diplomacy while keeping its strike options ready. And Iran is talking about negotiations while also warning it is ready for war. And the Gulf states have every reason to be on edge. The last round of escalation shook the entire region. Iranian missiles and drones struck key sites in the Gulf. Energy infrastructure came under threat. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE found themselves dragged into a conflict they never wanted. So this time, they're trying to stop the situation from spiraling again.
Is that we are fully supportive of the diplomatic track because we want to protect the people of the region from being, basically the main losers of any escalation in the region. But also we are supportive of the diplomatic effort by Pakistan that has shown seriousness in bringing the parties together and in finding a solution. And we do believe that it needs more time.
This is no longer just a military standoff. It is also an economic war. Iran has already blocked the Strait of Hormuz for hostile shipping. The United States has its own blockade of Iranian ports, and both sides know exactly what is at stake. I'm sure you are tired of hearing me say this, but Hormuz handles around 1/5 of the world's traded oil. So any further escalation there could hit the global economy even more than it already has. Tehran is going to further in tightening its control, and it has established a new maritime authority. It is called the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, and its job is to regulate movement through Hormuz. What's more, Tehran also is floating an idea of new permits. This time, it's not for shipping. It's for fiber optic cables passing through Hormuz. These are undersea internet cables, thick data lines laid across the seafloor. They carry global internet traffic, phone calls, banking data, financial transactions, and communication between countries. A huge part of the world's digital system runs through these cables, and many of them pass through the Gulf region. Iran is now signaling it can control these networks too. So this is no longer just about oil. It's about data.
While we are monitoring all movements and are prepared for any scenario at the negotiations table, regardless of those threats, we are focused on the Iranian nation's interests. As for the threats by US, rest assured, in case of the slightest error by the other side, we are well versed on how to respond.
The markets are already responding to every new signal. Oil prices fell today after Trump announced the delay in military action, but investors remain nervous because the blockades are still in place and the region remains one incident away from another escalation. Meanwhile, mediator Pakistan has passed a fresh message between Washington and Tehran. Iran says its latest proposal was sent through Islamabad.
We received a series of proposals from the other side, which we have been reviewing over the past few days. As we announced yesterday, our concerns have been conveyed to the American side. The process is therefore continuing through the Pakistani mediator.
Tehran's latest proposal reportedly includes sanctions relief, the release of frozen Iranian funds, an end to the US blockade of Iranian ports, and reparations for war damage. Tehran also wants an end to hostilities across the region. The nuclear issue remains one of the biggest sticking points. Washington wants strict limits on Iran's nuclear program. This includes limits on uranium enrichment and control over Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Tehran does not want to negotiate under threat. It wants security guarantees. It wants sanctions relief and the right to continue peaceful nuclear activity. Besides, there are also mixed signals from the back-channel talks. Iranian media claims Washington may allow limited civil nuclear activity. It may also release some frozen assets. But US officials are denying reports of major sanctions relief. So both sides are testing each other without wanting to look weak. And that is where things stand right now. The strikes have been delayed, but the United States is keeping its military options ready, and Iran is preparing its retaliation plan. The question now is, will this deadlock end in a nuclear deal, or will the guns start firing again? So there are countries that settle scores with sanctions. Others use tariffs. Some recall ambassadors, freeze assets, or issue strongly worded statements at the United Nations. And then there's Iran, where conflict often comes wrapped in missiles, militias, cyber attacks, and now allegedly million-dollar assassination bounties. $58 million to be precise. That's the price Iran wants to put on heads of two countries, one in Washington, Donald Trump, one in Tel Aviv, Benjamin Netanyahu. Make no mistake, this is not a warning sent through a Telegram channel. This is reportedly a bill which is heading to the parliament for vote, and it has a price tag. According to a report by The Telegraph, the bill has a name. It's called the Reciprocal Action by Military and Security Forces of the Islamic Republic. Sounds bureaucratic, right? Almost harmless. It isn't. The bill proposes a formal bounty of over 50 million euros, roughly about $58 million, to any individual or entity that assassinates US President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a legislative act stamped, signed, waiting to be voted on. According to reports, the man behind this is Ibrahim Azizi. He is the chairman of Iran's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee. He did not mince his words. Azizi said, and I'm quoting, "The vile president of the United States, the ominous and disgraceful Zionist prime minister, and the CENTCOM commander must be targeted and subjected to reciprocal action." He also added, "Just as our imam was martyred, the president of the United States must be dealt with by any Muslim or free person." The imam he is referring to is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's former supreme leader. He was killed in the February 28th American strikes on Tehran, which were launched jointly by the United States and Israel. Now, Iran isn't doing this in a vacuum. The February strikes that killed Khamenei were seismic, not just militarily, but psychologically. The supreme leader of a theocratic state, a man who represented the very soul of the Islamic Republic, gone. And it's clear that Iran wants blood for blood. Another parliament member, a Shia cleric, went on record saying Iran's parliament would vote on rewards for anyone who sends Trump and Netanyahu to hell. He also claimed threats have been made against the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, and warned Iran's response to any such attempt would be devastating. But here's what should concern you more than the rhetoric. The money is already moving. Days before this parliamentary announcement, a pro-regime media outlet called Masaf claimed Iran had already secured $50 million for a campaign literally called Kill Trump. Now, calls for action against Trump from Iran are not new. After last year's attack by US and Israel on Iran's nuclear sites, a group called Blood Covenant had raised $40 million as a bounty on Trump's life. The group is described by a US-based think tank as operating under the direct aegis of the Iranian regime. There's another one. It's Iran's state-sponsored cyber warfare group, which claimed it had separately allocated $50 million targeting Trump and Netanyahu. This was done in retaliation to a US Department of Justice bounty on its own members. Added up, we're talking about nearly $150 million in bounty money floating around from state media, hacking collectives, and regime-linked militias. This isn't propaganda anymore. This is infrastructure for assassination. When a government begins legislating murder, not inciting it, not tolerating it, but legislating it, something fundamental has shifted. This isn't a cleric issuing a fatwa from a mosque. This is a parliament, a formal institution of the state, debating a line item for political assassination. Trump himself has previously warned that if Tehran tried to kill him, the United States would wipe them off the face of the earth. Every sovereign nation claims the right to retaliation when it believes it has been targeted. That is not unusual in geopolitics. The real question is how that retaliation is carried out, because there is a difference between military response and publicly discussing assassination bounties on sitting world leaders. One operates within the logic of state conflict, the other pushes the world into something far murkier. If these reports are accurate, Iran is not merely threatening retaliation. It is blurring the line between statecraft and targeted political vengeance. That shift has major consequences because once assassination rhetoric enters formal politics, every future conflict risks becoming more personal, more unpredictable, and far more difficult to contain.
Definitely want to weigh in on this particular statement here. I think it's interesting that the point that was raised by the First Post host there. Technically, we're already in the midst of this. Israel has made a case of assassinating their political enemies. I mean, they've killed, the Ayatollah for Iran. So I don't think Iran is seeing it any differently. Like, if you can kill our people, then we should be able to kill your people. If you're going to put a bounty on our people, then we're going to put a bounty on your people. It's a tit for tat thing. I don't think it's right. But I also think it's weird that this is coming out into the public. I would think that this would be a conversation that they would keep in private. But apparently they put a bill together to go about doing that. I don't know that this is a surprise to anyone. I think the Iranian leaders are pretty upset about how we've attacked them, and they want revenge, and they want vengeance for their Ayatollah who was killed. I think even Trump would expect that they would be doing stuff to this extent. I don't think it helps when they're talking about trying to forge a peace deal, letting the guy who pushes the button for the most powerful country in the world know that you're putting a $58 million bounty on him. That might not be the wisest thing to do or to publicize out there. even though I know these things are happening on both sides. I mean, we've openly said we're trying to, take out whoever the new leaders are, we're trying to take him out, right? So, I mean, it's sort of tit for tat, but it is a new precedent, right? Normally, you shouldn't be targeting leaders of countries, especially leaders of nuclear countries, if you don't want to essentially sign a death wish, but apparently they're doing it. I don't know how wise it is, but it doesn't seem like it'll go well for them. Well, that's it for me in this particular segment. I thank you guys for joining us on this particular show. If you're not already connected to the Intercourse Show, definitely like and subscribe, stay connected, but also leave your comment. Let me know what you think about this. There's this conversation here happening about whether or not, it's real that there's a bounty placed on Trump and Netanyahu. But share your thoughts and, let your point of view be heard. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.